First of all, thank you. And just one comment and two questions. One comment is, as a parent, I would do anything I had to do to help my child. And what I'd like to understand is, over the 12 years in Ohio, you've not had the ability to be able to use cannabis to be able to alleviate the problems, the symptoms, and the problems that occur. So, can you kind of describe what you've had to go through very specifically in terms of medicine that's been available to you, and it seems like it's worked in the opposite way? And then number two, most importantly, a lot of families have left the state of Ohio to go to those states that are legal. And what evidence has come out of that as to how they've dealt with it and how their problems have been dealt with?
Sure. Okay, so the first question that you're asking me is about side effects from medicines that we've been prescribed. The quickest way to tell you is that the way that those medicines work is that they slow your child down. They virtually take them away from you. They turn children into little zombies that sleep for great portions of the day. When one medication was introduced into Lucy's regimen, she started to need oxygen at our home and was hospitalized for respiratory challenges. She lost the ability, she lost some of her abilities to vocalize. They lessened. She stopped reaching. She could not do that anymore. For the first time in her life, she needed help urinating. I'm sorry, Lucy. I'm telling your secrets, but it's important to know that she needed for the first time in her life to be cathed because of one of her anti-seizure medications that still did not control her seizures. There are children who die from seizure medications. One of the reasons that we're also concerned about this issue is that children also die from seizures. You may not know that SUDEP, sudden unexplained death from epilepsy, takes more American lives annually than SIDS. People die from seizures and people die from anti-epileptic medications.
So what has happened in the other states from the families that you know?
Well, I have connections with a great deal of families that are having success with this kind of treatment, but you're specifically asking me about parents that have left Ohio. So I'm going to talk about Addison Benton and the Lyles family as well, Paula Lyles as well. I think that to begin with, there is a pretty telling story in that they are setting up shop in Colorado. The Bentons have now purchased a home because they want to come home. Their family is here. Their network of individuals is here. But they've set up shop there because it's working. You can, I could show you a picture of Addison on her anti-epileptic medications here, and she looks dopey. She not only have her seizures been reduced, as I just gave an example, from hundreds a day to a small handful, and sometimes days where she doesn't have any. I hear stories about milestones that she's gaining, that notably, she is a different kid. She is not high on cannabis therapy, and in fact, some of the promising medication that she is taking is THCA. I don't know if you guys know what THCA is. I don't want to bog you down in technical jargon, but it's a pre-psychotropic form of THC. she's doing rather well with a patch, a transdermal patch that she uses. They're happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
General McDonough has a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, you did a wonderful job in presenting the case. And I know that you probably had to do this before, but you did a very wonderful job of presenting the case. And I'm just curious, first of all, what is your daughter doing now in terms of epileptic seizures? Is she still doing 100 a day?
Yes, yes, she is. 100 plus. Quite honestly, I don't live like Charles Darwin and recording every single seizure because it's not a way to live.
Sure.
But yes, yes, she is.
And so the question I'm going to ask you is not because I'm not empathetic. I think we're all curious. We know there's an issue here that we have to address. But it wasn't so long ago that the opioid pain relievers were declared the best thing since sliced bread. And shortly thereafter, doctors started prescribing them to the point where we now have people dying every day across this country. The highest cause of death for kids, opiate overdose. And now they're on heroin. And so we had to go through, this legislature had to go through a great deal to set up a policy to try to, working with the pharmacy boards and the medical boards to try to control. So my question to you is, while maybe everybody at this panel, I don't know what their positions are, would agree that there should be a limited use of medical cannabis, not in a smoke form. We went through that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and generally speaking, I realize there are some times where the smoking is the only way that works on a particular problem. But we have to put some regulations in place, and that many well-meaning, understanding, intelligent people understand the consequences of trying to make a policy that's a pinpoint for your problem, but opens, and then some might say, this is a stalking horse simply for legalization of marijuana, period. So, do you have any suggestions how one controls the use of the medical cannabis in a way that prevents its wider spread in non-medical circumstances, as opposed to being in Colorado, where I was yesterday, where the excuse had been in the past that these aches and pains that the docs wrote, the patients were lying to their doctors to say marijuana. And once it was made legal, the medical marijuana list went down dramatically because they could just get it on the street generally. So if you have any suggestions, here we are.
Well, I'm pretty sure that you have just asked me a gigantic question.
I have, but you're living the world and you're talking to each other, so you're an expert.
Well,
so
I wonder if I can just back up for a second, because quite honestly, the idea of, I don't know that at this very moment I can answer the question of how to regulate, to make, I mean, I guess, listen, full legalization has not ever been Ohio Families Can Fight. However, I completely recognize that misunderstandings about a cannabis plant for personal use and people's quite frankly, old ideas about cannabis stand between my child and good medicine. And so, I believe that you're going to hear from a person tonight that can tell you far better than I can the actual safety of cannabis, because I apologize, let me compose my thought for just a moment.
While
One of the
proposing-
reasons
while
that-
you're proposing your thought, Mr. Chairman, you're stuck right where we are, which is, let's agree that, just for argument, that, you know, this should happen. How do we handle the public policy overarching? That meets your need and meets the general overarching need, if, for example, the recommendation is, we don't want to fully legalize marijuana, and you're stuck because, in the same way, frankly, we are stuck. If we believe all the.
Well, I think that getting the best education about the benefits and the perils, the true benefits of the perils of cannabis, because I really do actually think and believe that they are overstated far too often. That's what I believe. And that is one of the things that's holding people back from answering that question, because there are an awful lot of things that make people feel uncomfortable. Cannabis has been shown to actually support people with their opiate addictions. It has been used safely for centuries. So some of those challenges that you're wrestling with, I wonder if the answer might actually be found in getting to the heart of the best education about the fears about cannabis. What I think are some commonly held, misinformed fears of cannabis.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Dr. Santini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nicole, thank you for your testimony. I think that really speaks to the ends at which parents will go to seek anything to help their children. And I applaud you for your efforts. I applaud you for your testimony tonight. I think it's very helpful for this task force to hear this. Question I have is similar to one that was mentioned earlier in regards to the family, one of the families that you mentioned that moved to Colorado, and she's now using a transdermal patch. Can you explain to the task force, to the best of your knowledge, how that system works in Colorado and how that family has gone through that process to get that form now available for their child?
When you say process, can you be more specific about what process you're talking about? You're not talking about how the transdermal patch is made,
No,
you're
no,
talking
no.
about the regulatory components, correct?
Yes, please.
Well, from my understanding, the family needed to go through a process of obtaining a legal card that identified both the child as a medical patient and at least one of the parents as a caregiver, so that, I suppose in Colorado that's a little bit less of an issue, but because it's legal to possess cannabis outside of the realm of the medical program, but certainly in a place where it is not legal outside of the realm of a caregiver, outside of a medical program, a caregiver needs the right to be able to possess the medicine as well and administer the medicine as well. I know that her mother has actually taken courses on becoming a certified caregiver.
And if I could as a follow-up.
Sure.
And has that family, as a result of now having access to this therapy, decreased or eliminated any of the other medications that the child was previously on, to the best of your knowledge?
You know, I believe so, but I can certainly even, that's a really important point to make. I believe that actually is the case, and I can certainly better find out the details of that, if anyone's interested, yes.
Mr. Maltera?
Thank you. This is just more of a clarification. You mentioned pre-psychotropic. Casey, did I misunderstand that?
No, that is what I said. THC only becomes psychotropic when it's heated, or it can happen over time when it's drying, but largely it's because it's heated. So when someone smokes it, bakes it, if THC or any other cannabinoid is extracted from a plant, from the flower, in a cold process, the THC is not activated. And the THC does not become psychoactive. It's a pre-psychoactive form of THC.
And you feel that form does have the medicinal quality that you're looking for that would support your daughter?
Yes, it is absolutely the potential of promising medicine. Yes, it is showing great promise in legal states. Yes.
Thank you.
Sheriff, you have a question?
Please.
Sure.
First of all, thank you for your testimony, and I know how important it is to you to come up here, and we appreciate hearing everything that we're hearing. Just a couple quick questions. Are there any stats out there available to actually how many families have left Ohio to go to the other states?
It's a great question. That is a great question, and I don't have an answer to
I
it.
just was curious. Okay.
I can tell you that every single family has considered it. I promise you.
And then the follow-up question is, I guess I'm interested in your case, because you're the one testifying, but has your daughter taken any kind of medication, and I'm new to this, so I'm not a doctor, but the contents of cannabis, that is what everybody's claiming to be effective, has it been the contents taken out and put into some type of normal medical form that we see as either in a pill or liquid form? Has your daughter experimented with any of that? Do you know anything about those kinds of tests or stats?
Well, I mean, to my knowledge, the only forms are Epidiolex, is an isolated cannabinoid that's put into an oil. And Marinol is the only other one I know of that is the kind of thing that you're talking about.
And has your daughter,
My Marinol would not apply to my daughter, and Epidiolex is not available to my daughter.
thank you.
No other questions? I thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Next up is Robert Ryan,